Hello traders and welcome back to another market update. My name is Nick and in today's video we're going to take a look at the currency market, see what's going on, look at some technical analysis, and see if there are any interesting trade setups on some of the different time frames. So let's start out by taking a look here at Euro USD, which continues to fall here. For the most part, when you're talking about Euro USD, we did have this kind of beautiful trend to the upside that we had been watching. But what you can see is more recently, we have broken through that trend line and it looks like price wants to head lower. So my personal bias here when taking a look at euro dollar is that I think we could be headed back down to test those recent structure lows. If we back up just a little bit, you can see this is kind of our recent low here on Euro USD. If price can make its way down there, we still have room to run about 115 pips or so there to the downside. That's just kind of what I see, as we have broken this trend line very, very strong. Now we may see some sort of bounces in the short term, right? For example, this level looks interesting for a level of a bounce. We could see some sort of bounce off of that level, but the strength to the downside is very, very strong here on euro dollar, and my opinion is that we could see price roll over and continue. Of course, I'd always make your own decisions about what you trade, but this is just my analysis telling me that, okay, the market has a pretty good chance of breaking through and continuing lower due to the fact that it's not really respecting a lot of these supportive zones. Let's take a look next at GBP USD here, and we are looking at the 4-hour chart. And what we can see here is that we do have this lower high formation happening in GBP USD. So currently we kind of have this downward channel where you can see prices oscillating back and forth between. And what this also looks like, guys, is it kind of looks like a flag pattern, right? So you have your major pull right here, right to the flag. And then here is the actual flag, which is trailing down, but we're not seeing a convincing break to the downside. So what this could mean is that if price does decide to break to the upside, we could see continuation and we could see price continue higher in favor of that flag pattern formation. That's just what I see there on the 4-hour chart. Let's take a look at dollar yen. And you can see here on this pair that if we go to the daily chart, we have still price holding this level of resistance. So we've been watching this level for some time and price has still not broken through this level. Although I do want to say that we have also been respecting this supportive level on the bottom side. So we've been respecting the resistance up here very well, but we've also been supporting the support along the way in terms of this trend line. So what does that mean? Well, what it could mean is that price is consolidating, and that likely what will happen next is we will see price tighten up and break one way or the other. We don't know if it's going to break up or down, but I think that whether it's up or down, we should see some continuation and some breakout concepts that could work. So either the break to the upside or the break to the downside might actually be a decent trade, right? So you could sell if price goes down and test again, or you could even buy, right? Depending on what you see in the market there happen, might be some ideas or some setups there that you could take. Let's go ahead and move on to Brent crude oil here. This is going to be an interesting one because we are continuing to channel here into the upwards direction, and price is coming back, looking to come to a point where we could see a retest of structure once more. This would be an interesting level, especially if we line up with this previous level of support right here. This could be an interesting bounce level here, right? In terms of continuing that upward momentum or that upward channel that we do see on Brent crude. WTI crude is probably going to look very similar. Yep, there it is. You can see price is continuing to channel to the upside. And as price pulls back, we might get some sort of an opportunity to get involved. But personally, again, my bias there would be to wait for it to come down to an area of value where we could see a potential pullback and a bounce off of that structure low. Let's take a look next at gold. And gold is interesting right now because we are seeing a bullish push. We've seen a lot of bearishness on this pair recently, but what we can notice also is that price currently is testing this current level that has been broken. So what you can see is that we've got that black line right around this area. If we zoom in just again, it's looking like it wants to come back and currently test that area to see if sellers are still strong here. And this will be a big determining factor of whether or not we see that continuation of the trend. You can see this is quite the heavy pivot zone. It held as resistance here, right? And now the market seems to be wanting to test, are we going to hold resistance here? And my bias would be yes, due to the fact that we have so much momentum to the downside for the time being. However, if we do start to see that break, then I could be wrong and we could see a continuation to the upside. My bias though, again, is that we've seen a lot of rejection here and that we could see sellers hold this level for the short short term there. Let's take a look next at dollar Canadian, which dollar Canadian is making a bullish push as well there on the 4-hour chart. If we take a look at the daily chart, there is something here you can see. If we draw this longer term trend line, it looks like price is currently testing that longer term trend line. And you have some interesting levels here, right? So you have this level of support down below, and we have this trend line to the downside. So as price comes up into this area, testing some of these resistance points, it will be an indicating factor of whether or not this trend continues, where if we hold this trend line well. Again, my bias there is going to initially be that we could see a pullback or a short down to maybe back to recent levels down here. And that's what I think is most likely to happen. And then there's the other scenario where if we're wrong, if price decides to break up, well, then there might actually be some continuation patterns there to trade on dollar Canadian. To the long side, again, that would be the less likely scenario in my opinion. But if it does happen, we want to be open to what the markets are saying rather than asserting our will on the market. So GBP CAD is going to be our last one for the day. And if we take a look here at the daily chart, what we can see here is that price is looking like it's kind of tightening up at the top here. And what that usually signals is that either we see a major break up to continue that trend, or this trend kind of breaks down and we see the reversal. But here, what I'm seeing for the most part on pound Canadian is that we are tightening and we're holding this level, but at some point, this level looks like it might want to break. We could see the continuation of this GBP CAD trade to the upside. That's just my opinion there. Again, seeing that kind of higher lows here, right? Seeing the higher lows coming into the market and holding this level of resistance. If this level decides to break, we could see the continuation of this GBP CAD momentum to the upside. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to another live stream. I hope you have a great day. Make sure you subscribe to the channel down below, and we will see you next time.